That's the step that I keep doing wrong. Like, you set it up in YouTube, and then we come in and say, okay, YouTube created this for us. Use this. Yeah, and it looks like it's going.
It says we're live. I didn't get a notification, but I'm heading over to the channel.
Every time.
Let's see. Live.
Oh, we're a minute late now.
I don't see this.
That's not good.
No.
Hey, everybody, if you're there, are you there? Make a comment if you're there. I feel like we did it right.
Possibly. There's one concurrent viewer, and it's probably us.
It's probably. Well, let's give it a sec. Oh, hey, I got a comment. Roaring Thunder.
Says ye. Okay.
What's up, Roaring Thunder? For some reason, Dallin can't see that we're live right now. There it is. Okay.
It's just a little delayed.
Whew. Every time we have to relearn how to do this.
One day we'll do it right.
If I were smart, I would take notes, but apparently I'm not smart. I really think that I'll remember next time, but I also think that every month.
It's true.
And continue to prove myself wrong. Oi! How's it going, everybody?
Oh, it is a good day. You know why it's a good day? You probably know why it's a good day.
I have my idea as to why I think it's a good day. What's
Should we
yours?
say it at the same time?
Okay.
Okay.
1,
2. We go opposite.
3, 2, 1. Avatar. Yeah!
I'm so excited for this.
So, okay. Like, people... Oh, wait. First of all, how's the sound? I know sometimes we've had sound qualities in the past. Is anybody too loud, too quiet? Let us know. But there's been a lot of... Like, leading up to, say, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I feel like there was a lot of, like... It was getting a lot of bad press.
Yeah.
The Last Airbender. The live action. We're talking about the live action... Last Airbender Avatar show that episode 1's out today. It's out now on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet.
Not yet.
You haven't watched it yet? I told my kids that we would have a watch party.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wait until tonight after my son, who just got a job,
Oh, nice.
gets off work, which is weird, but cool. So anyways, yeah, we're gonna all watch it tonight. But yeah, like it was getting a lot of bad press, right? Like people were Sokka's whole arc about like being a misogynist,
right,
and then not a misogynist is cut. Like they were going for the Game of Thrones audience. That was getting a lot of bad. I know. And yeah, people were just like, "Oh, it's gonna suck," but I don't know. Like on the one hand, yeah, that's annoying when people are like, "We're going for the Game of Thrones audience," because I want to say. Like, okay, now this is a whole nother tangent. This is how I work. Like, nobody, like no Hollywood studio exec seems to understand that like the thing that made Game of Thrones good was not. Did we talk about this already?
I think we've probably had this.
Did we talk about this last month?
I don't think we talked about this.
Maybe we talked about this last month because I feel like this is a common soapbox theme for me. Like, the thing that people see Game of Thrones super successful and and they all go, oh, because it was dark and edgy and because there was lots of sex and violence and swearing, and it's like, no. That's not what made Game of Thrones good. What made Game of Thrones good and successful is that it was really well written. It was a really fantastically done series of novels. And they took those novels and were just like, this is our source material and we're going to be true to the source material because it's really good. And there's a reason that it's like sold billions of copies all over the world.
Right.
So here's your script. And, you know, obviously you're going to have to tweak some things because it's TV and you're going to have to cut some stuff and whatever. But, like, for the most part, like, be true to this. And it's like, nobody got that message. They all went, ooh, dark and edgy, dark and edgy. So we're going to do Wheel of Time, but we're going to grow it up, and we're going to make it, like, more not so for teenagers. It's like these guys are adults, and they're, like, having sex and stuff like that. And it's like, no, the show sucks, but it's not because it wasn't edgy or dark enough. It's because you took the source material and you were like, yoink.
It's like they learned the wrong lesson from Game of Thrones, especially at the end, because when they deviated, that's where it fell apart. That's the lesson.
Once they ran out of books, the show sucked. So, yeah. Anyways, what were we talking about? Avatar. So, yes, I get it why people are like, don't do that. Don't be like, we're going to appeal to the Game of Thrones fans, because that ruins stuff. But, the reason why that's bad is because it's only bad when people, I think, like use that as, like, start ignoring source material.
Right.
And you can go a little bit darker, I think, a little bit more grown up,
sure.
Right? Like, it's difficult to go from anime or anime-like, with Avatar, and convert that into live action and keep the same, like, made for kids
the
feel.
tone.
Yeah, like the like a little bit, sure, but like there's a silliness there to it at times, often, right? Even though it can also be mature, but like it can be a little silly and goofy, and that's tough. That is tough to convert to live action. Plus, the audience has grown up a little bit. Like, I mean, my son Knox, my oldest, who's coming home from work to watch the show with me, we watched it together when he was like 5 or something. You know what I mean? And he loved it, and I loved it, and I loved that he loved it, and it was kind of our thing to watch it together, right? And then as my girls kind of got older, we'd like rewatch it with them. But like, he's 16 years old now, and he probably isn't gonna be as interested if it's like all the time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so, like, that's okay, but just try to stay to the source material as much as you can, and they're gonna have to cut stuff, right? Sure. It's a lot. There's a lot of episodes, and they're only getting it down to, what is it, 8, 10?
8, I think.
I hate 8 episode series. Why not do 10 or 12? Anyways, but they're an hour long, so that's something. I mean,
they're definitely gonna have to cut.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like, I understand, and you got to change some things for TV, whatever. But just, I think, go in with expectations set appropriately.
Yeah.
Of like, this
better
is going to be different.
Better than M. Night Shyamalan's version, but not better than the actual source material.
Probably not, right?
Right somewhere in there.
Yeah, like understand, things are going to be different. They're going to have to cut some stuff. Yeah. There's going to be some tonal changes and things like that. But like, if you can sort of let go of those expectations a little bit, I don't know. Like, most of the reviews that we're seeing seem pretty positive.
Yeah, it seems like it's winning people over. So we'll see. But I cannot wait. Either way.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, and I think you are too, that if it's something you love, you're willing to kind of like give it
rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, and give it a little bit more leeway, I guess. To disappoint you.
100%. Like, I mean, I have so many examples I can think of. When the Star Wars prequels first came out.
Oh yeah.
Most of the people of my generation, that is different than your generation, because I'm a Gen Xer. I'm like a late Gen Xer. Anyways. Most people from my generation just bashed them, right?
Yeah.
They were just like, oh, Jar Jar Binks, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, they're good, come on. Like, no, they're good. I think most millennials who grew up with that Star Wars have always felt that they were good, right? Yeah. For the most part.
I mean, they're at least meme-worthy.
Sure.
They're fun.
Yeah. Like, I was an apologist for the prequels. The Matrix trilogy, another great example. Loved the first movie, still in my mind maybe the best action movie of all time.
Yeah.
2 and 3 were pretty much panned by like the diehard fans, and I was always like, no, like, it's good, and this is why. And I had my whole argument all lined up, laid out. And yeah, so I've kind of always been that way. The Star Wars sequels I finally lost the ability to continue to keep the rose-colored glasses on. Through 7, absolutely. 7 might still even be like my favorite of all of them. 8
might agree with you on that. Yeah.
8, I was like, oh no, but like I think it's still good, and here's why. And by 9, I was just like, no, it's just bad. It's
what
just
have you
bad.
done to my boy?
Yeah. Anyways, so I'm sure that I will enjoy Avatar. Is really the point that I just took 11 minutes to make. And I'm cautiously optimistic, I suppose.
Yeah.
And we're getting lots of comments that people are probably wanting to like interact with things that we're saying.
Well, let's jump in because we do have some questions, and we have some carryover questions too. And I don't know, I feel a little bit guilty when I can't get to all the questions. So
yes,
let's go to the carryovers.
To everyone who has submitted questions multiple times and they're not getting answered, like, sorry, nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And don't feel like you can't continue asking the same question over and over until we finally get to it. And we'll try. We'll try our best.
Yes. So in that regard, we're going with Uncanny Pally has a question.
Okay.
Are you looking forward to any particular non-D&D TTRPGs that are currently in development? Which ones have caught your eye?
That feels like a plant from my friend. Oh my gosh! Now I'm on the spot and choking. DC20 Alan, Dungeon Coach. So he hasn't posted it yet. We did a one shot last week. We recorded it of us playing. It was me. Who all was there? It was me. It was Mr. Rex. It was Steve from Lunchbox Heroes, Lunch Break Heroes. Oh gosh, I should have prepared. Thank goodness this is just going to platinum members and not to the public at large who would lambaste me for being a bad person. There was somebody else. Who else was there? It was Will, D&D Shorts, like the most famous of them all. We all played the new system that Alan's working on, DC20. Ooh. And for those who are fans of Treant Monk, they've seen him do some stuff on it, and there's been other people. It's good.
Yeah?
It's good. It's... I think I might, when he has his Kickstarter, I might do a video like I did for Pathfinder, where I was like learning this system as a D&D vet. I don't know, because Pathfinder has a pretty big audience, and this is going to have a pretty small audience, at least at first. And so that might not be a great business decision on my end to do that.
But first to have a video about it.
Well, Chris has done, Treant Monk's done 1 or 2. I don't know. Anyways, I'm thinking about it, but it's a good system. It's if I could talk about it in a nutshell, it's like it's very similar to D&D, but maybe better in a lot of ways. Like just cleaning up some things here and there, maybe streamlining some things here and there. My favorite and least favorite thing about it simultaneously is that every class gets to pick what their primary attribute is. Their primary.
It's like strength. Dex,
yes. Regardless of what kind of class you are. So you could be a wizard.
Buff wizard.
and make strength your primary, and all of your spell save DCs and your spell to hit is based on your strength.
Huh.
And the way that I guess you and I love that because it's like, oh, like I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And every character is sad. Every character is single ability score dependent, right? I don't know how multiclassing works or if it's even a thing. He's still fairly early in development. But my worry about it at the same time is that there's going to be one stat that's going to be optimal for every character. You know what I mean? And so now every character is dexterity based or whatever, right? And so part of me wants to go like, maybe limit that a little, like scale it back so that like spellcasters can choose between the mental stats and marshals have to choose between the physical stats or something, just to, I don't know. To his credit though, Alan's doing a pretty good job of making every stat attractive. Like, you know, there's no, it doesn't feel like there's any like throwaway or dump stats. Right. They all feel important or beneficial in some way. So I mean, obviously, you know, he's going to be iterating on it, and we'll see, you know, what it looks like in the end. But yeah, we had a lot of fun with the one shot. It was cool. I played a monk, of course, and monks are awesome in this system. So maybe that's why I like it so much. Because right at level 1, they get all these like stances that you're like dancing between, that are going to enhance your attacks in a bunch of different ways, and just feels. It does a good job of capturing kind of that kung fu martial artist fantasy that I love in my role-playing games. So yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Man, I take a long time to answer questions.
From the chat, Relax Fantasy Review is asking, did you read Alakander's Almanac? It was DC's supplement for 5e. I'm curious how similar it is to DC 20.
I did not.
So
Alakander's Almanac.
Alakander's Almanac. So it's a supplement to 5e. Interesting.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't read a lot of. I haven't familiarized myself that much with Alan's stuff. We met playing Pathfinder when Randall, the rules lawyer, brought us together to like. For his little series on like D&D YouTubers play Pathfinder. That. And so that's where we met. Then we met at Gen Con last summer and kind of chatted a bit, but I haven't familiarized myself all that much with his other work. But thanks for the question. And yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's jump into another question here. So Nachas from Discord asks, how long have you been playing D&D or other tabletop RPGs? When did you start optimizing your builds? And do you remember any of your old builds? So it's kind of a 3-in-1.
Yeah. And like I've shared my origin story probably in the past, but maybe a quick recap would be started playing in junior high, middle school, like I was 12. Well, very first time was with my brother when I was like 10 years old, but that was not real D&D. And then I started playing real D&D, like when I was 12 years old, found a group of friends, and they became, like, I'm still friends with them today. Yeah. You know, we played through middle school and into high school. And then I took a break, long break, like 2 decades long break, when it became uncool and the social pressure was too much, and my friends stopped playing. I was looking for someone to play D&D with ever since, until I found you guys through work. We used to work at the same company. And that was 6 or 7 years ago now. But so I went from AD&D, like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, didn't even get to 2nd edition. 2nd edition was coming out when we stopped playing. So I went from AD&D to 5e, and I never played anything in between. So when people talk about the glory days of 3.5 especially, or either how terrible or amazing 4th edition was, that was the most polarizing of the editions. Yeah. I think people either love it or hate it, right? I feel bad that I don't really get to participate in the conversation. So as far as my, like, I played one character. I played one character I played two. I played 2 characters, but mostly one character for my entire like AD&D life, and it was a wizard, essentially a magic user, and he threw fireballs and lightning bolts, and I loved him. His name was Magus, nice. And I mean I optimized as best I knew how, but we were really playing in a way that like my friend Adam was the DM, and he kind of controlled not only the dice rolls, but like all of the information, the rules, everything. Like we just basically did what he told us we could do. And so I didn't read the player's handbook or anything like that. And so, yeah, it was difficult to optimize. But as soon as we started playing 5e, however many years ago, I think from day one, I was like, okay, I want to build the very best monk that I can possibly build. How would I do that? You know what I mean?
I remember the first time I even knew multi-classing was an option was because you came to the table like with a couple ideas, and I'm like, you can do that. What?
Like, yes, I've read everything
about this game,
and I figured it all out, even though I hadn't. Like, I didn't really know anything. I thought that I was really smart, but then it turns out monks are underpowered, and assassin rogues are only good if you can get surprised, which we could never do because of the barbarian that was in our party who was constantly Leroy Jenkinsing every fight. I loved that character, Ariana, and every character I've played since, even in one shots, I'm always like, oh, I want to play that character again. My favorite might be Anya, that my first Blade Singer, that we played in when Dallin was a DM for homebrew campaign.
That was a fun.
It was so fun.
Fun character with a
Yeah.
lot of good memories with that.
Yeah.
With that time.
Very good.
Okay. Sage Thunderleaf from Discord is asking, I'm asking this question from the mindset of someone who has to make a new character for a campaign that's been going on for over a year. How do you find the
Apologies for your character who died. Yeah. Condolences.
How do you find the inspiration for making a new D&D character after losing your old one? And you kind of have a little bit of experience with losing a character, but... sort of, right? In a couple of different ways, actually.
When I lose a character, it's like 20% sad and 80% happy. Because it means I get to play try something else. Do you know what I mean? Because I've got 160 builds now, right? That I want to play, and I'm sure you guys can relate. And so for the story, I'm usually like, but then the bigger part of me is like, yay. So yeah, how do I get inspiration? I mean, typically the first thing that I'm looking to do in those scenarios is play something totally different.
Right.
I don't want to just do a slightly different, slightly better version of what I kind of have already done. So for example, in that homebrew campaign, right. Anya, he didn't die, but he
kind of got yeeted.
He got yeeted into a different timeline, multiverse, sort of. Anyways, and so I went from playing this very lithe, dexterous, elfy Blade Singer, right, who was all about hit and run and weaving in spells and bamfing all over the place and being really cool and fun that way, to just being Anders, who was big, beefy, I hit stuff barbarian. And so the variety there is what made it even more fun for me, that ability to go okay, now I'm going to do something totally different. And that was a lot of fun, and Anders was awesome. He was
so strong.
He was arguably a more powerful character even than the Blade Singer.
Yeah.
That was my first time playing with Great Weapon Master and just realizing how freaking good it was. You know what I mean? If you could get Bless and have advantage thanks to Barbarian, you hit pretty almost every time, and I would just be I'd roll a D4 and be okay, I did 21 damage. And I remember Corey being that's bullshit.
Can you get that much with just a D4?
You rolled a D4 and you did 21 damage? I'm sorry. And I wasn't even smiting. It was just 10 for Great Weapon Master, 5 for my strength, whatever.
Yeah.
A D6 for, maybe I'd add a D6 because of Zealot Barbarian, or, rage damage. Anyways. Plus 2 for my weapon, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So yeah, that was a lot of fun. So I'd say that's maybe my primary inspiration is pick something totally different, and it makes it fresh and exciting again.
From the chat, Matt Marshall says, "Not me. Losing a character is 80% sad, 20% mad, 0% happy."
Just sad and mad. Yeah, I mean, well, and so by contrast, there was the time in our Tales of Veneria campaign,
right,
that my mic, which is famous for this, if you watch the outtakes in my videos, keeps dropping, and I don't know if it's affecting the sound quality, so let us know if it is. What was that character's name? Saradon. Yeah, Sari. She died at one point in the middle of that campaign, but Corey just sort of rezzed her, but like I couldn't be a warlock anymore.
Right.
And so I just sort of swapped the warlock levels with sorcerer levels, sorry. And, you know, played that way for a couple, 3 levels until I was able to, like, reunite with my patron. And so it was cool, story-wise, I thought. But the reality is, it didn't feel all that different as a character. Right. It did feel different, and I tweaked some things so that I could get extra attack via Paladin, maybe. I don't even remember now, but... yeah, for all intents and purposes, it was very similar. I was smiting a lot. I was casting spells, and it was just kind of like, like I'd just as soon like stay how I was. You know what I mean? If it's not going to be all that different. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, Dronos over on Discord. A question I have is, when are you going to add Portuguese subtitles to your videos? I volunteer as tribute to help.
So I don't actually do the subtitles. YouTube has a thing where you can just, like, they will auto-generate them for you if you want, and you just kind of go in and say, yeah, looks good, and they just do it. You do have the option to, like, write up the script or whatever. Like, you can write the actual subtitles and, like, upload them to the video, but that's way too time consuming for me, and something that I would never be interested in doing. So as far as foreign languages go, sorry, it's not something that would make sense for me to do, like to pay for a service to do that, even though I do have a lot of Portuguese viewers, mostly from Brazil, and thank you, and ciao. Do they say ciao in Portuguese? I feel like they do, but maybe that's just an Italian thing. Anyways, let me know if I'm wrong.
I'm the worst person to ask that question to. I have no idea.
But si quieren podría hacerlo en español, pero aún entonces no me gustaría tener que escribir the script. ¿Cómo se dice script? Cada semana. So yeah, Spanish, it would be a little easier, but even then, probably more time consuming than I'd be willing to commit to. So sorry.
All right. We're getting in the chat a couple of different ways. We say hola. Yeah.
Okay.
Hola. That makes sense. Okay. Next up, we've got Java Jedi asking, what cons are you planning on attending this year? I'm excited to be going to Gen Con this year. It's been 30 years since I've been able to go.
Yeah.
Well, congrats.
Nice.
That's going to be fun for you.
Enjoy that. I'm a little sad that I'm not going to Gary Con, which is happening in March, I believe. Maybe I could convince my wife to let me do that, but probably not. Because I've never been, and I know that's like the D&D one, even though it's maybe not as big as some of the other cons. You know what? I've been to PAX East the last 2 years now, and enjoyed it, but I've decided not to do it this year, just because it is mostly video games. Yeah. There's a D&D presence there, and I was actually doing a panel the last couple of years. Was on a panel talking about D&D, and it was great, and it was fun, and I got to meet people, and I've got some friends that live in Boston, so that was kind of another excuse. Some of my old World of Warcraft guildmates live out there, and we still keep in touch, and so yeah, that's been fun. But this year I just decided, you know what, instead of that, I'm gonna do PAX Unplugged, which I think is just better for me, for the channel, because that's kind of the TTRPG board game PAX, right. And that happens in December. So I'm planning on doing that this year. I'm planning on going to Gen Con again, which I did last year for the first time and was a lot of fun. And Indianapolis is a cool town. So yeah, and that's where I love my favorite thing about that last year actually was just getting to hang out with Kelly and Monty a bunch. They are such great dudes, no pun intended. And they had some cool events that I kind of went with them to, and they did, actually the best thing was they did this, they had a little party at a bar. Can't even remember the name of the bar, but it was like an arcade themed bar. Nice. There was all these like old school, like standing quarter stick a quarter in them arcades at this bar, and they kind of rented out a little like a big room there, and invited basically every like D&D YouTuber that was at Gen Con to come, and like that's where I met Alan from DC20, but like Jenny, Pointy Hat, Will was there from D&D Shorts, like I mean, so many people, Jesse Jerdak and his wife, like just it was awesome. Nice. And just like hanging out, rubbing shoulders with everybody and talking shop and just making friends and stuff. So it was really cool. So planning on going to Gen Con, planning on going to PAX Unplugged in December. And then I think I might make it down to, there's a con, it's called Big Bad Con, and it's in San Francisco. I feel like it's in the fall. And Kelly and Monty went to that last year and said that it was amazing. Nice. But it's really more for like content creators, I get the sense, than fans necessarily, though there's probably both. They met Matt Mercer there, cool. For example, as well as, what's the other creator of D&D? Not Gary Gygax, Ed? Oh, crap. Anyways, they said it was awesome, and they're like, you ought to come to this, and so I'm planning on going next year. And probably just those three, I think, for now is my plan. We'll see if I can convince my wife to let me go to GaryCon next month. The Stormcrow. That's right. The Stormcrow. That was the name of the bar. Okay.
Sounds like an awesome place.
Yeah.
Okay, Hunters Can Fly from Discord says, when it comes to character sheets, are you a pen and paper player or are you bound to the spreadsheets in digital world?
Digital. 100%. I used to do spreadsheets back in the day, in the late 80s and early 90s, when that was the only option. I used to do the pen and paper. But yeah, like it was so annoying because we didn't even have like the slide it into the plastic and use a dry erase marker. Right. We just had actual pencil that you were constantly erasing, and inevitably after about a month or so of using the same sheet and constantly like erasing your hit points and then rewriting them and erasing them and rewriting them, like you'd have to get holes in it from all the erasing, and so you'd have to like copy it all over to a new piece of paper, and it was just a huge pain. D&D Beyond makes things so easy. And it's nice to just kind of have a little, iPad or whatever sit in front of you while you're playing and just be able to like track things and just boop, boop, boop. And just,
they've made it
and like, wait, what's the rule on that? And you can just look it up. It's right there, and it's just, it's nice.
I would say like learning the game for the first time, maybe do pen and paper, because it's just like to really understand what stats are affecting your role and things like that. You can see it much easier on paper than you're on D&D Beyond, and it's just everything's auto-calculated and does it for you.
Don't roll the dice automatically. Force yourself to like do the math and like roll the die and be like, okay, wait, what am I adding to this?
Yeah, really helps you like get in and understand the mechanics of the game.
Yeah.
And while D&D Beyond is great, it's an awesome tool, I think it kind of takes away that like learning experience of getting your hands dirty in the mechanics. Okay, let's see. Fred Pinball, which is a really awesome username, on Discord says, what brought you to D&D or TTRPGs in general? My first real life exposure was watching Team 4 Stars campaign, in which I was enamored by the potential character moments and arcs you can come up with. I would seriously recommend a watch or listen if you haven't. It's hilarious.
Okay, we'll have to check that one out. Good question. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that question is. Like, I was always, since for as long as I can remember, enamored with the world of fantasy. Like, I was always a kid that was like playing make believe in his head, right? And at the time that I first discovered D&D, when I was 10, like I lived in Alaska and in Anchorage, near Anchorage, and I was just always like out in the woods, like with my friends, pretending that we were superheroes, or you know what I mean, like making up stories, like making up movies we would like pretend that we were in a movie, and like that we had the plot all figured out, and like, you know, my friend's name was Conan for some reason, which seems weird because we were not like barbarians, but anyways, yeah, and we do these like murder mystery movies, like just outside playing and stuff like that. So, and yeah, and I loved comic books, and yeah, so like when I discovered D&D, it was just like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, I can pretend to be like, this is what I kind of already do. It's just sort of got some rules around it. It's just like sort of official, in a more official capacity or something. It's like, oh, you can create all, and gave me ideas for like, I never even thought about like trying to be a ninja who could also throw a fireball. That's amazing. You know what I mean? Or whatever. So yeah, I remember watching The Hobbit when I was like, one of my earliest memories actually was going with my grandpa to the library in Bremerton, Washington, which is near Seattle. That's where my mom grew up. He took me when I was probably 3 years old, and they were doing a filming at the library of that old Hobbit animated movie, like the 1977 version of it or whatever. It wasn't 1977 at the time, but it was probably 1980. And watching that film like on the screen and just being like blown away and like so in love. And yeah, my brother and I then immediately just like would go out into the woods behind their house there in Bremerton and like get sticks and be like, I have Glamdring and I have Orcrist, and you know what I mean, and we'd fight imaginary goblins and stuff. And so yeah, D&D just was like a no-brainer almost.
It makes sense. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, D&D is such a great way to just kind of escape with like you said, some kind of rules and containment around it. So it's a little less freeform, but a little you still get to scratch that itch.
Yeah. And speaking of escape, like definitely, you know, when I was playing with my friends in middle school, I think that was probably a big component of it that I maybe didn't even recognize until much later in my life. But like, my parents were divorced. We moved around a lot when I was, you know, at that age. And I had a fairly tumultuous childhood. And like that 11, 12, 13-year-old time was really tough for me, as it is for a lot of people, right? I had just moved, didn't have a lot of friends. And so like finding these friends and being able to do something and like sort of escape into another world where you could just leave all of those problems behind, you know, it sounds a little cliche, but yeah, I think that was a big draw for me to just like pretend to be someone else who was powerful and had absolute control in their life, you know what I mean, and could kind of do what they wanted and conquer all their obstacles, etc. was definitely alluring and part of the appeal, I'm sure.
For sure. In the chat, Relax Fantasy Review says,
"Hey, thanks for the $10. That was really nice." Sorry.
No, you're good. The Olympic Peninsula is my dream home. I lived there for 2 years during my Navy time, and I want to retire there eventually.
If I ever get to the point where I can afford a vacation home, I don't know if that'll happen. I think, the Northwest is probably where I would go. I spent a lot of time there as a kid. Just every summer we would go and spend a couple of weeks in that Seattle area, and I love it. I love it. there's something like mystical about the Pacific Northwest. Those
it's the Fey realm.
Yeah,
it feels like it's the Fey realm.
It does. Like, and my uncle has a sailboat, and we've gone out on the Puget Sound, and like we'll ride the ferry from Bremerton to Seattle, and I just love to get out on the deck and just look at the houses going by and being like, oh, if I could live in one of these homes, like I would be so content. I've taken vacations with my kids now, my wife and kids, like to the Redwoods and along the Oregon coast too, and I love that whole area for sure.
We've got a couple of things in the chat here. I want a house on Orcas Island for retirement. Maybe take a nice Pacific drive.
Yeah.
And then we've got
Pacific
Bremerton is
Highway.
so much fun. You visited the Blue Sky Hobbies there a while ago.
Yes.
And I just about lost my mind with excitement.
Yeah, I did. So it was about a year ago. Kind of sad story, not to be a downer. My grandpa passed away a year ago. He was 99. He was this close. He almost made it to 100. So
I almost womped, and I'm so glad I didn't. Because I didn't know you were going to say he died.
my grandpa died. Yeah, he died. So we were up there for the funeral. But it wasn't a super sad event. Like, he lived a good long life, and
Right.
it was as much a celebration as it was a time of mourning, you know. Anyways, yes, just randomly took a walk in the downtown Bremerton area, which has been totally revitalized in the last few years. And there was this great game store there, Blue Sky Hobbies, that's right. And they had this cool like bar in the basement and like game tables to play on and stuff. And my brother, who was with me, we went down there and he taught me how to play Magic the Gathering. Actually, it was the first time I ever played MTG.
Nice.
And we just hung out. And one dude that was there recognized me. He was like, I think that's Colby from D4. And I kind of heard him say my name, and I sort of looked over, and then he came over and said hi, and it was cool. I think his name was Mike.
Awesome.
Was it Mike? Anyways.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's so fun when you travel and you see like the nerd culture alive and well in
Yeah.
other cities, and
Yes.
you're like, yes, there's people just like me. This is where I would hang out if I was here.
Yeah, totally.
It's so fun.
Totally.
The bar is called Helm's Deep.
Yes.
I've spent countless hours down there.
Yes.
That is a great name
Yeah.
for a bar. Okay, back to the Discord. Finsun says or asks, have you ever felt bad for making an optimized character? For instance, when you almost destroy an encounter by yourself and everybody looks at the tables looking at you silently.
This is a question for Dallin. Okay, Dallin. Time to be real.
I've
And
never
you
felt
can't hurt my
bad.
feelings. You can't hurt my feelings. Has there ever been a moment where like one of my characters has done something at the table and you're like, you're such an asshole? Like,
No, I've
you
I've never
glory
had that.
hog, spotlight stealing, piece of crap.
The most that has like occurred is I'll have this encounter that I think is just right, and then you just blow it up, and I'm like, well, shoot, like this is supposed to go for like 8 rounds, and now it's over. Like, how do I fill another hour and a half of content here?
Yeah.
Luckily, I've learned from DMing you that sometimes just have some ways for these monsters to regen, like. Got some battery packs lying around somewhere.
Or here's a hint. Like, I'm not Treant Monk, right? Just target my saving throws. You'll probably take me out pretty quickly. Yeah. So, but how about as a player? Like, because we've spent
Yeah.
more time as players together
think
than we
so.
have as DM player.
Yeah. I don't think I can recall of a time because the nature of the game is so collaborative that, especially if you're playing like where you're like a unit or like a mercenary group or whatever, you kind of all have the same goal.
Sure.
And so it's more like shared victory. I don't think there's like ever like individual. I mean, sure, for your arc you have your little
Yeah.
individual moments, but as in like a battle, I think it's so cooperative that I never really felt that
Yeah.
way playing at the table.
This is revealing of me and maybe a little embarrassing. Because I don't know that I've ever felt like bad or guilty for like being a spotlight hog, but I've definitely whined about when other people have. Right? Like when Reese had Hazaron,
Yeah.
right, in our dragon, oh goodness.
Tiamat.
Yeah, the Horde of the Dragon Queen, or whatever that was called. Now it's combined into 2, and I can't think.
Tyranny of Dragons.
Tyranny of
right?
Dragons,
Yeah.
thank you. That was our first 5e campaign. And one of our friends, Reese, he was a barbarian, and he got that legendary sword that you can get in that game early on too. It's like you get it from the Black Dragonborn.
Right.
What's her name? Starts with an R. Anyways. And it's really good. It's really good, and should not be given to like a level 6 character, right?
Yeah.
It did an extra 1 billion damage and like all of these things.
And it was like chaotic evil. Like,
Yeah. and he sort of all of a sudden was very clearly just like he could have soloed the game, and we were all just sort of like there to like help Reese kill everything. It felt like, you know what I mean? And yeah, like I whined. Like we would be going at lunch, and I'd just be like, "Oh, it's so unfair." Just being a big, huge baby. So yeah, like there's a learning opportunity for me there. I think to you know, let other people have their time in the spotlight more and be a little more sensitive to. To be fair, I think, and I've said this kind of thing before, like. We have a great vibe with those that we play with. I think that like everybody sort of likes to play maybe a little bit more differently, and they love different aspects of the game.
Right. And
not everybody else is necessarily as much a fan of like being awesome in combat as I am, and maybe that's just what I tell myself to help me sleep at night. But
I think
like
that's true. I think that's true.
With varying degrees. Not to say that everybody else is just like, okay, like I'm gonna take a nap while Colby kills everything, or like I don't, you know what I mean. But like, yeah. So
I think in combat, at least at our table, like Preston just wants to have a good time in combat.
Yeah.
So that, you know,
he just wants to
like
make
I
hijinks.
am good just hanging out in the back casting some AoEs
and
or throwing down some
you make your characters are like
pseudo optimized.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Semi-optimized. Like you put some thought into it and maybe make some decisions based on what's gonna like help you do more damage, but it's maybe not like the number one priority.
No.
And then I'll always be like, oh, you should do this with your character, and you'll be like, okay, yeah, shut up, I'm gonna do this instead.
Do the opposite. Perfect. Yeah, no. So there you go, Finn-son. Okay. So over here in the chat, we've got HP fudging is the best fudging.
Oh, we can have a fight about that.
We could. I don't know if 15 minutes is enough time to fight about it.
We talked about it in a sliding into my DMs,
I think
didn't we?
We did, yeah.
You can go back and look at those old sliding into my DMs videos.
Barbell Boa. I've definitely had a DM get frustrated with burst damage characters, but I usually most enjoy playing support characters and making them as busted as possible, and no one seems to mind. And I think that's the key.
Yes.
Just be a support character and everyone will be
the
quiet.
Best. Although, of course, my problem is I make a support character. Like, what was the Kitsune guy?
Aloma.
Yeah. Who was he was a light cleric / stars druid, and he was kind of supposed to be the healer, but then I ended up just killing stuff all the time because I played him like an AoE damage dealer, light cleric, you know, where spirit guardians and pulling people into spirit guardians and throwing out fireballs and Scott would be like, I'm dying over here. I'm like, I'll heal you once you're unconscious.
The best kind of healers are efficient healers, and they wait till you're all the way down.
That's right.
Let's see. So Pete Cotton in the chat says, I find that players help each other spotlight more after they've had a seat in the DM chair. I think that's probably true for our table because most of us have had a turn being the DMs. We've kind of been on both sides of it and seen like, oh yeah, this would be a great moment for this person to kind of step up. And so when we're back to being a player, we kind of are like, okay, let's back off. Let them have their moment. I'll step in when it makes sense.
I think I do a much better job at taking a back seat when we're out of combat.
Sure.
Than when we're in combat, maybe. Like, not to say that I don't participate in role play and get into character, and sometimes I can probably even be a spotlight hog there, but I think, I'm much more, like, aware of, conscious of, you know what I mean? Like, not, like, talking too much and making it all about me. I feel like when I'm in combat, I don't think... Maybe this is something I can talk about with my therapist. I don't think that I'm like, oh, I just like want to be better than everybody else here and like steal the show. I think in my mind, I'm just like, I just want to like kill stuff. Like I want to be the best that I can be and like do the most damage or whatever, without going, oh, Preston like isn't even getting sneak attack off on his rogue. Like he's doing like 10 damage around. Like maybe I should stop killing things and let him try and kill things or whatever.
Oh, we just lost the light.
Oh, it's because I didn't have it turned on. Boop. Hold, please. Oh, there it goes.
We're back.
Okay, anyways.
That was the ghost of Preston. Like, you should do that next time.
Stop killing everything, you jerk. Yeah.
Let's see. We've got in the chat. I've had more other players frustrated with my characters that maybe take too much spotlight out of combat, and I really like bards. Well, if you're a bard, I mean, that's what you do.
You're the party face.
You're the party face.
Right.
So it makes sense. Okay, back over to Discord. We've got Thaladar, which is like an awesome character name.
Yeah, it is. Sounds like something out of Stormlight Archive.
It does. Thaladar, Truthless of Shinovar. My D&D group is traveling this summer to play D&D in a castle for a 3-day weekend. And we will be playing Curse of Strahd. If you were going to play that campaign, which you have, which of your builds would you choose?
Okay. First of all, super jealous that you're going to play D&D in a castle. And if you don't mind me asking, like, how much is that costing you? I'm curious, but you don't have to answer. And you might not even be live with us. Anyways, that's awesome. And I'm super jealous. And Curse of Strahd. Now I need to talk about Curse of Strahd.
Yes.
Like, so we played Curse of Strahd, but we have a... Is tainted too strong a word? Experience with it, and it's not anybody's fault.
Yeah,
I don't think.
I wouldn't say tainted. I would say maybe like unfinished. Like there's still this I feel like I need to get back in there and.
I was about to say something really inappropriate. It feels like a. Can I say blue balls?
I was about to say, is this D&D blue balls? Yeah, it's D&D blue balls.
So it's an amazing. There's a reason why everybody says that Curse of Strahd is like the best official Wizards of the Coast 5e campaign. I played the original Ravenloft for AD&D back in the day and loved it. Was so excited to play Strahd. And we started playing it, and within a few months, COVID hit.
Yep.
COVID hit, and we went from... Well, at first we went from playing together in person each week to online. So we moved it to online, and we were doing Roll20. And I'm just not a big fan of playing online, personally. As great as VTTs are, there's just something to me that you lose when you're not in person and be able to kind of... There's just an energy, a vibe. I don't know what it is. But anyways. And so after doing it online for a few weeks, we were like, you know what? Like, I don't want to get like a second-rate experience with this campaign. Let's just
put it on pause.
Put it on pause, and we'll play again once we're all vaccinated. At the time, there was no vaccine, so we didn't know how long that was going to be, right? And fast forward, it was like a year later, at least, maybe longer.
Yeah, it was a long time.
That we finally, everyone was vaccinated. All right, let's come back and play. But it had been so long. We had done another campaign, some of us, to kind of fill in. We were doing the Storm Giant, Wrath of the Storm Giants. Is that what it's called?
Storm King's Thunder?
Storm King's Thunder?
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, there we go. But we never finished that one either. It was just like...
It was a tumultuous time.
Yeah, it was. And then, COVID was kind of... Yeah, so we all got vaccinated. Great, let's get back, play Strahd. But it's like, it had been a long time, and it's almost like, okay, like, what happened? And I forgot who some of the characters were, and, like, I almost forgot my character's personality even a little bit. Like, and we had decided to start recording our Tales of Veneria campaign. Right. Corey was like, you know what, I'm going to start a new homebrew world. And I'm like, I want to put this on my channel, but we can't just do Curse of Strahd. So let's wrap up Curse of Strahd, and then we'll, start this Tales of Veneria. And so we just kind of had this, like, I think it was just a single marathon session.
Yeah, to just finish up.
To just wrap it up. And I think we skipped a ton of content.
I'm sure we
And
did.
Corey homebrewed a bunch of stuff. And, like, suddenly we were just fighting Strahd, it felt like, right? And again, like, this is not... I'm not saying, like, this is our DM's Corey's fault or anything like that.
Situation.
It was COVID. It was, and so, yeah, I feel like there's a part of me that, like, really wants to go back and, like, play it from, like, start to finish without a 18-month break in between.
So fun.
Or whatever, and like get all of the content in there. That said, the actual question was, what character would you play? Which of my builds? So I played an Oath of the Crown Paladin for that, and it was like that. If you look at my Paladin tank build, I'm not going to link to it. That's just a force of habit. Yeah, it was. I think it was my first tank build that I ever did. Early episode, and I don't know that it was necessarily a great build, but that's what I did for that one. And he was intended to be pretty tanky, and I think worked really well in that role in that game.
Right.
But the nice thing about Curse of Strahd, spoiler alert, there's a lot of really good magic items for ones. Paladins and clerics.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like you gotta play a paladin. Like if nobody else is playing a paladin, especially, like you gotta play a paladin.
Everybody be paladins. Just a team full of paladins.
You could do that. Because there's something, I mean, there's a lot of undead.
Yeah.
Like, and it just feels like the right character to play in that campaign.
Yeah. It's like a Diablo or something. It's like, it's the vibe. It's the right vibe.
So if I were to do it over, I might go with like my Holy Warrior build. That's a little more damage focused, a little less tank focused. Or like a Vengeance Pally build. I really enjoyed. I also think that a good cleric would work well. So like the light cleric would probably be really strong there. Or even,
the light cleric would be great. I don't want to spoil, but there's themes about light and things like that, so it would be a great match.
I think that would be fun and really on point thematically. So yeah, those might be like my top picks, I think. Oathbreaker could be cool too. And I did an Oathbreaker build that I've been wanting to try out in game because it was a nice mix, I think, of like damage and tankiness. The problem with Oathbreaker though is that the extra damage that you do once you hit level 7, you have that aura that like buffs you and any undead attacks, and that might bite you in the butt in Strahd. But hey, maybe you're up for a challenge. And it could be fun thematically to kind of be like to come into it as an Oathbreaker, and maybe you're playing a redemption arc.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
That could be cool. Yeah. Anyways.
Strahd is a ton of fun. And I don't know if it was just our experience with it because of the way we played it, but I felt like Strahd was kind of a pushover at the end. And there's so much great like build up to Strahd that I feel like it's hard to make him not feel a little like...
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we could ask Corey this. I don't know if he... Because we were not super high level.
No.
Because we were rushing it.
Right.
I think we were probably under-leveled for where we otherwise should have been for that fight. And there's a very high likelihood that Corey nerfed Strahd in order to make it so that we could, that it was feasible for us to beat him, but maybe he overcompensated. I don't know. I do remember Scott was a necromancer, and he summoned like 1 billion skeletons. and in fact, I think at one point like nobody could even get in to attack Strahd because he was just surrounded by Scott's minions.
That's right.
And we were all just kind of like waiting for a skeleton to die so that we could move in and do something. And so, it was a little bit, And I think shortly after I made my Necromancers Are Broken video.
That's not like a direct response.
For the channel. I think, anyways, maybe it was before, but...
That's awesome. Okay, last question in the Discord. I think we finally made it through and caught up.
Nice.
Daniel, hi Daniel, says, how has bringing the Discord and increasing the membership options changed your day-to-day? Are you still just writing and filming at this point, or are you looking into more community-based metrics?
Yeah, good question. So we decided to add tiers of patronage, YouTube membership, and including the Discord and these Q&As at the same time that I hired you to edit my videos for me.
Yep.
And that was intentional, right? So that it could free up some time for me to be more involved in Discord and, you know,
Right.
things like that. So yeah, it's been amazing. Largely thanks to Dallin. And you know, creating that space for me, which has been awesome. And as far as how it's changed up my day to day, yeah, like I definitely, you know, I probably don't interact on Discord as much as you guys maybe hope that I would. I think my fear for even ever doing it in the first place was because I was just like, it's gonna feel like an obligation,
Sure.
and I'm not gonna have enough time, and then everyone's just gonna be annoyed that like I have this Discord that I'm never like interacting
Right.
with, and they're gonna be like, this isn't worth $3 a month or whatever, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was like, well, if you're editing my videos, then yeah, like I can still sort of like get the video scripted and recorded and everything, and have time during the week to interact more on Discord, and even do other things like just little, like, I want to say like quality of life improvements for
Sure.
the channel that I've kind of been wanting to do for a long time. Like I think some of you know, I've been working on this table of contents, just where I can like put every single one of my builds in a spreadsheet to say, okay, here's a synopsis of the build. Here's what they're built for: burst damage, sustain damage, etc. And here's like a breakdown of the class and subclass that each one takes.
Right.
With a link to the video too that you can click on, right? Just things like that people have been asking for years. Like, and frankly, that I'm getting to the point now where I have 160 builds, and you guys are noticing this in my videos where I'm like, have I ever used this subclass before? Like, I think I did, but I can't remember what video it was from, and I don't have time to go back through all 160 of them and figure it out, you know what I mean? And so like it'll be a nice resource for me too. But yeah, for you guys as well, hopefully, and do things like a one shot with Alan and everybody from DC20,
Right.
and just feel like I kind of have more time to like, yeah, do other things like for the channel, for the community, that I didn't really have before. So it's been a huge godsend in my mind, in my life. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, before we end, Relax Fantasy Review, thanks for the $5, says, Scott's skeletons are where the Conjure Animal 8 came from.
No, that was from, well, okay. When I hit 30,000, when I hit 30,000 subscribers, I reached out to the Dungeon Dudes and to Chris, Treant Monk, and said, hey, you guys want to like do a little one-shot celebration with me? And I can't believe, even to this day, that Monty like even gave me the time of day.
Yeah.
Like, I was this teeny little channel. They had 10 times my subscribers, right? And he was so gracious and was just like, hey, Colby, like, we're big fans. And I don't even know if that's true, but just for him to say that
Yeah.
made me like go, ooh. And he's like, yeah, like, that would be great. Let's see if we can, schedule something. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, he said yes. Anyways, we did that one shot. You can find it. A lot of you have probably seen it. And Chris played a Shepherd Druid. I'm pretty sure it was a Shepherd Druid. And I think his main motivation for playing a Shepherd Druid was to kind of show people, hey, like, it doesn't actually have to, like, Conjure Animals doesn't actually have to, like, just slow gameplay down to a slog like everybody says.
Right.
Here's a tool that I created, a little algorithm where you could just very quickly, like, determine, which attacks hit, which miss, and how much damage you did with all of your Conjure Animals. And to his credit, like, it worked really well.
Yeah.
But
D&D Beyond, maybe you should contact him about purchasing that
Yeah.
and put it in the tool.
But I think, and I had felt this way before, but this might have been the first time I ever saw it in action. Actually, no, we did a one shot. The Druids of the Primal Circle.
Yeah.
Druids of my first
Homebrew Games.
Yeah, Homebrew Games. Anyways, I did a one shot with them. We never recorded it, but they were testing out some Druid stuff, and one of the guys that we were playing with used that spell, and he was like always having like a billion wolves with every fight, and I'm just like, this is really dumb. Like, it's so slow. It slowed down the game so bad, and like he didn't have to do anything, and they just like kind of killed everything, and I'm like, this spell. Anyways, in that 30K subscriber one shot, yeah, Chris, for those who saw it, I mean, he literally would just like hide his character in a bush. He was a little Harangon. And wouldn't really, I don't know if he even did anything. He might pop out to heal or something like that, and then just had all of his velociraptors like kill everything. And I was just like, this is dumb. I wasn't mad. I wasn't like, Chris is stealing the spotlight and that makes me angry. I was just like, this is such an unbalanced spell. Like,
oh yeah.
And if you're not Chris and creating algorithms to make it, easy and streamlined, like, it's such a pain. So I'm so happy, and to his credit, like, so is Chris. Chris is not necessarily a big fan of Conjured Animals as it exists either, right? And he's said this multiple times in recent videos. I'm so happy with what they're doing with the new Conjure spells for 1D&D. I think they're so much better. Nice. But that's a whole nother topic. So.
All right, well, we'll end on this. Matt Marshall says, thanks, appreciate the discussion about Strahd. Paladin sounds like it. I'll check out Holy Warrior. I think that's the right call.
The Holy Warrior would be so good because they are that quintessential like big damage smiter that like you just do 3 levels of Zealot Barbarian because that's super on point thematically because you're like they're already like this sort of religious fanatic zealous, right. You know what I mean? And then you couple that with a paladin, it's just kind of a match made in heaven.
And there's like an undertone of religion too in Strahd, and
so
it would fit nicely.
Absolutely.
Like all around, you cannot go wrong with the Holy Warrior.
I mean, you're getting advantage thanks to reckless attack, and so you're critting more often for huge smites, like. And you get all of those sweet paladin features that every paladin gets, your aura of protection, etc., etc. I think they're just a powerhouse of a build, and it's why I used them as my very first build when I started doing BG3 videos, and I still am to this day kind of amazed at how little I see people in the Baldur's Gate 3 zeitgeist talk about like smite builds.
It's so weird. It's all like focused on around the items, which makes sense because there's so many great ones. Yeah. But like, smite is huge in that game.
I mean, it is, and because it's D&D. Yeah, like it's like,
and it translates so well.
And burst damage like is just everything. And if you like, I don't know if you guys watched the honor mode, like me beating honor mode or whatever that I put out last week. I had been playing the Icebreaker up until, I don't know, the last couple of levels, and I just was getting bored of it and wanted to change. And I'm just like, I'm just going to build like a super smiter, for these last few fights or whatever. Right. And I was just like, this is just easy mode. Like, it almost wasn't fun, but let's be honest, I love like being super powerful. So it was a lot of fun. It was a blast. But yeah, like, why isn't anybody just talking about the power of like, advantage on your attacks early in the game when you need it, right? Because you have great weapon master and that -5 really hurts. And later you can kind of ignore it because you can get so many buffs and items that are adding to your plus to hit chance that it's not as important. But and just having like a ton of spell slots. And in that game especially, later you get items and things that are going to let you like guarantee a crit. Yes. So often and stuff like that, and it's just like
teens and
you just absolutely destroy stuff. It's like you're doing 400 or 500 damage like in a round, and and you're action surging and just everything's melting. And like and I was a little nervous. Like I was kind of nervous going into honor mode. I'm like, am I gonna screw this up? Like what's gonna happen? And because the first time that I got to the Netherbrain, spoiler warning for people who have not finished Baldur's Gate 3 but plan on doing so. The first time I got to the Netherbrain, I failed. Yeah. And I was just playing in balanced mode.
Oh no!
But it's because I screwed up the whole platforms disappearing thing, and I wasn't paying close enough attention. And anyway, like it was balanced mode, so I could just reload a save and beat it. But so I was like, this is the last fight, and like, what if I get this far? Fextra Life, was it Fextra Life? There's another BG3 YouTuber. Well, he's a video game YouTuber. I think it's Fextra Life. Had this honor mode run, and I watched his video, and he got to the end, and literally the brain had like 19 hit points, and he failed.
Oh man! man.
because he had a speed potion on a character and it expired, and so they got stunned, and then it just ended. Anyways, I was like, okay, like I just got to make sure like I've got my elixirs going,
Right.
and like I took a long rest with a potion of dreamless whatever right before, so like I got all my resources, like okay, and I went in and just like another brain was just like boom, 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 and it down to like 100 hit points with just my one character, and then Lae'zel kind of came in and was like pa pa, and he was dead, and I was just like, why isn't anybody talking about smite builds? Like, this is ridiculous. It's so strong.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry about that rant.
Well, I think that puts us to the end. We're actually a little bit over time, which is cool.
Par for the course.
Yeah. Do we have a sign off? Do we need to come up with a sign off?
Oh, I don't
feel
know.
like we need some sort of send off.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
Stay cool. Have a good summer. I don't know. I'm probably overly scripted in my hellos and goodbyes in my regular videos. Be good. Or be kind, do good. I can never remember them. As you know, editing.
I'm like, wait, what order does it go
How many
in?
videos have you done? And you still can't get this right? Yes. No, you guys are awesome. And feel free to suggest a sign-off that we could use. D&D is for everyone.
That's a good one.
That's Chris's. That's Tramlink. I'm
go.
going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone.
What about play more D&D?
Yes.
We give you permission
Yes.
to play more of it. Tell your work or whatever to just shutty. You get to play more D&D.
And let's be excited about Avatar: Last Airbender. I hope it's as good as I hope it is. That was smart.
And that's the sign off.
I hope it's as good as I hope it is. All right. See you guys next month and online.
See ya.
Ooh.